So, about a week ago, I asked you guys to ask me questions that I could answer in this month's community video. I think this is the third one, and they're one of my favorite videos to make. Now, there's a bunch of new questions, and those are the ones I want to focus on in this video, but I'll also try to answer the more broad questions. So let's not waste any more time and get right into it. The first question for today is from Salim Aslan, and it's a pretty common question that I've answered before, but I feel like I need to talk about again. Do you think For Honor will get more content after the Year of the Harbinger? Before, I've said that I think the Year of the Harbinger is it, that Ubi wouldn't put this level of support into For Honor after this year. But it's looking like I was wrong. Recently, whenever Ubi talks about the future of this game, they make it seem as though they plan on supporting it for much longer, as if they'll go into year 4 and beyond, which is good to hear. It's nice to know that Ubi won't drop this game anytime soon, and I'm assuming this means that For Honor has been doing well in terms of how many people are playing and supporting the game. And if I recall correctly, I think Luke said in the last Warriors Den that currently the game is as active as it's ever been. To me, I guess it's just really rare to see a game be supported for so long, especially a game like For Honor. So we'll have to wait and see what sort of support For Honor will receive after this year. It could be another year past, or it could be things like continued bug fixes and minor patches. And while we're on this topic, I do want to answer this question really fast. Do you think there will be a For Honor 2 or another game with the mechanics in For Honor? Will Ubi drop support for For Honor ever, and will there be console upgrades? I'm sure that one day there will be a sequel to For Honor or some sort of spin-off, and I'm sure that someone will try to emulate For Honor's Art of Battle system eventually, as I still think it's one of the most complete PvP combat systems we've ever gotten in a game. All good things do come to an end eventually, so Ubi will drop support one day for For Honor. The question now is, when will they drop the support? And to answer all the questions about console upgrades, that unfortunately won't happen. As for separate balancing, that also won't happen. Nightcrawler says, why is Revenge so broken? I'll be getting ganked and it takes forever for Revenge, but someone else can get it in a 1v1. I wouldn't say that Revenge is really broken. I think Revenge is in a pretty good spot right now for the most part, other than the way it's gained. The big thing I would really change right now is to make it so that you don't gain Revenge in a 1v1, or like cap the Revenge meter at 60% until someone else joins to gank, as some heroes just feed so much Revenge based on how they play. So heroes that use a ton of bashes and guard breaks like Conk, Vortiger, and Centurion and so on just have to accept that if their opponent can play defense, they'll eventually earn Revenge, and it can be pretty annoying to whittle someone down to their last bar of health just for them to pop Revenge and prolong the fight. That's just my suggestion. Ubi is actually changing this though. In their AMA on the PS4 subreddit, they confirmed that Revenge gain will be removed from 1v1 encounters. Also in that same response, we see that Ubi will be doing mid-season patches, which I'm honestly really happy about. Maybe it'll coincide with the mid-season events we'll be getting this year, which will just make it even better. One of my main criticisms of Ubi has been their snail's pace when patching and updating the game, and a mid-season patch will be appreciated. Next up, Robbie Guida says, do you think that with the addition of Blackprior, Ubi got the balancing of the character right? Are they going in the right direction, in your opinion, or do you think they are not? What are your hopes for the next heroes? I think Ubi did a really good job with Blackprior. They really only made a few mistakes with him to me, that being the extremely fast recovery on a whiff bash and the broken out of stamina confirmed bash bug. Other than that, Vortiger is fine. There really wasn't too much outrage over him, and if that happens in For Honor, then something must be right. Also, the Shigoki rework was really well done, at least in my opinion. It made a hero who was essentially just a meme actually fun to use for anyone playing and some sort of threat. This season Ubi just did a good job, and yes, I think they're headed in the right direction if you're just taking this season into consideration, especially if this mid-season patch thing is anything worthwhile. My hopes for the next hero honestly is just for Ubi to continue to try something different. I'm not sure what they can do with a Samurai Axe Heavy, but Ubi has shown us that they can still get creative with the fighters. The most recent heroes have all had something new, or have played around with an existing mechanic to make fights more dynamic, so every fight isn't the same. So I'm sure that when it comes to Samuraks, they'll pull something new out of their sleeves. Soln Zeva says, do you believe that Aramusha deserves more attention from devs in the community because of him being the worst hero after Shigoki and the Lawbringer rework? So I'm going to use this question to quickly answer a few of the questions regarding future reworks and my thoughts on what will be next and whatnot. I think we all know that Aramusha right now is not in the best spot. He's a problem for new players that can't handle light spam, and he's not that great against players who can block and backdash away from him. I think that he'll be worked on within the upcoming seasons, but not the next one. I think after the Raider and Lawbringer improvements, assuming that they're the only two being worked on next season, I guess that Centurion will be next up on the list, as Aramusha has already had some changes. I'm not saying that Aramusha is better than Centurion, I'm just saying that I think that's what'll happen. So Lord Re asks, who was the first character you played as and why? The first character I played as was Orochi back in the first beta. I didn't play in the alpha, so I didn't get to experience how busted he truly was, but I gravitated towards Orochi because he just looked cool to me. I liked the way he attacked and how fluid he looked, and I just stuck with him because the concept was just awesome to me, and the game was so fun and almost addictive as we had never gotten to play anything like it. Brendan Nichols with the most popular question from this time around. Do you think that For Honor should include more maps showing the effects of the cataclysm, like a dead forest, a flooded city, or more affected land from earthquakes, geysers, and lava? As of right now, the maps seem like a generic medieval setting without showcasing For Honor's lore and backstory. And do you think that Shigoki should have a bear hug execution? This is something that I've never thought about, but now that you bring it up, I definitely would love to see maps showing how the cataclysm changed the world. I mean, we do have a few maps that show us a bit, but most of the maps do seem almost unaffected. I don't think we need meteors or flash floods mid-match or anything, but it would be cool to fight in some ruins or have a map that has a tremor or an earthquake go down late game or something. And yes, I do think Shigoki should have a bear hug execution. PK asks, which characters do you find not fun to play and not fun to play against? Well, first of all, PK, there's Peacekeeper. I don't find her fun to play as just because there's no flow to her kit currently. I also don't find Highlander fun to play just because he's not my type of hero, honestly. And then there's Shinobi because I don't like his playstyle. Other than that, I can have fun playing with every other hero as long as I haven't been playing for too long. As for heroes I don't like fighting against, there's not many. Fighting a really good Berserker is sort of annoying. A Bash Happy Kant can be slightly irritating, but the only hero I really don't like fighting against is a good Shinobi. It's no secret that Shinobi is my least favorite hero in For Honor, and I've talked about it before, so I won't go into it again, but in short, he can control the pace of almost any fight, and his slide is no fun to fight against in any game mode. Other than that, I don't really mind fighting against most of the cast in this game. A Dashing Brawler asks, do you think effects should be turned on for the signatures at the end of the match? 100%. I love the idea of signatures and hope they keep adding more, but I think having the option to toggle effects on or off for the signature screen would just be a great addition with no drawbacks. I also think that idle effects should be active while walking. I'm not sure if it's possible, but it's something I've wanted for a really long time, as some of the idle effects in this game are just beautiful. TC Last says, I've asked this before, but I don't think it's been touched upon, so I'll ask it again. Do you think they will ever do anything actually interesting or engaging to the faction war, or making factions mean more than just emblem outlines and end of war loot? You know, the faction war is again a great concept. It changes the maps you play on and now gives bonuses depending on which zones your faction is captured, and of course gives you the rewards, but it sometimes feels like it's just there. I do think that a faction game mode would be a cool idea, like Samurai vs Knights or Vikings vs Wulin, depending on which territories you have captured and who was fighting where you were teamed with players of the same faction and could only use heroes from your faction. I think that would be cool, but I think it would be imbalanced and probably not played too often. I'm not really sure what they could do to make the faction war more engaging while not being intrusive to players who don't really care for it, outside of doing, faction specific game modes or events. Sir Velstat says, we all know that Ubisoft has done some dumb things with this game, but what do you think is the best thing they've done for this game's life? I think it was the addition of dedicated servers and the various stability improvements. I think that if this game launched with dedicated servers rather than peer-to-peer, this game would have been received far better, as people would have gotten to actually play it. Connection issues plagued this game. It really hurt this game, and nowadays I hardly see anyone talk about how they've been booted out of games. It's almost like a complete 180. I haven't really seen a game improve the way For Honor has. Jesus Salvador asks, did you think For Honor would get this far based off the initial release? What do you think the devs have done to make it last this long? There were times like 2 or 3 months after release that I thought For Honor was done for. I thought it was just going to be another game that blew its chance, as I've seen so many games do before it. But it didn't completely die off, and it's due to Ubi not giving up on it. They didn't just drop the project, they made improvements, they saw potential, and they turned it around. As I just said, For Honor has improved. It feels like a much more complete project now, even though it still has its problems. I think the weekly content, seasonal heroes, and pretty frequent communication help keep this game afloat. Do you think For Honor could introduce a pro scene? As much as I'd love to see a pro For Honor scene, I still don't think it'll happen. I do want to be wrong though. A spectator mode is just so important. As of right now, watching any sort of competition or tournament isn't pretty, as it's just sort of sloppy, and there's no way to watch a 4v4 match. I think viewership is really important when it comes to having an actual pro scene with teams and large prize pools and all of that. I do think it would be awesome to have a complete ranked mode with picks and bans and a single pick though. Of course, if you're interested, there are tournaments going on every week that you can play in. Anyways, that's all I've got for this video. I tried to answer a bunch of questions at once, as a bunch of them were just the same question worded differently. So I tried to throw some of those in there. Anyways, I do want to hear from you guys, so talk to me down in the comments about anything we talked about in this video. And as always, if you agree with me or just like the video, feel free to like and sub, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.